Now at 11, Israel strikes inside Iran, while all indications are the conflict won't escalate further. Plus, the changes Oregon's second biggest school district plans to make, it says, that will help keep everyone safe. And later,
$1,600 is not going to solve every problem that you have, but it's certainly going to help.
Oregonians are smart. They know that free money is never free.
As 11 days out from the election, we dig into a ballot measure that's facing widespread and bipartisan opposition. Good evening. We begin at 11 with the first time Israel's military has openly attacked Iran, with Iranian state media reporting explosions across the country early Saturday morning, as well as in the capital, Tehran. The Islamic Republic downplaying the hours-long attack, saying it caused only limited damage. Here is what the Israeli military said about the strikes and their targets.
In response to months of continuous attacks from the regime in Iran against the state of Israel, right now, the Israel Defense Forces is conducting precise strikes on military targets in Iran.
The strikes are over. Israel says it did not target nuclear facilities or oil installations. This comes, though, less than a month after Iran launched a ballistic missile attack on Israel. The Pentagon says while it was given a heads up, it was not involved in the action. The U.S. also warned against any further retaliation. Meanwhile, today, President Joe Biden offered the nation's first formal apology for an American policy that tore indigenous families apart for a century and a half. It led to the deaths of hundreds of Native American children, scarring communities for generations. Alma McCarty has that story.
But the federal government has never formally apologized for what happened until today. I formally apologize as President of the United States of America.
President Joe Biden in Arizona, formally apologizing Friday morning for the federal Indian boarding school policy, calling it a significant mark of shame, a blot on American history.
Lost generations, culture and language, lost trust. It's horribly wrong. It's a sin on our soul.
Admitting, too, that this is long overdue.
There's no excuse that this apology took 50 years to make.
I think for most people in our Native community, it's almost like it's about time.
State Representative Tana Sanchez works as the Director of Family Services at the Native American Youth and Family Center in Portland.
We have been resistant, we've survived, and there are so many Native people who still have made it through to this moment in time with things intact. But a lot of things were lost, and a lot of things have been really damaged by what happened in the boarding schools.
A years-long federal investigation commissioned by Deb Haaland, the Secretary of the Interior and first Native American to serve as a cabinet secretary, put in print the horrors and abuses at these institutions over 150 years. It found that hundreds of children removed from their families and forced to assimilate died.
Literally, the message was, kill the Indian, save the man. That was the message. So the annihilation of language, culture, all of that was deeply embedded in the plan there.
Sanchez says in terms of moving forward, the specific solutions and investments will vary for the 574 federally recognized tribes.
I raise my kids to say, don't ever apologize for something you're not actually sorry for. And if the plan is to be sorry for it, if you're sorry for what happened, let's make sure it doesn't happen again.
A formal government apology is just the first in a list of specific recommendations from that investigative report, the second part of which was released this summer. Other remedies include investing in culturally based healing efforts, revitalizing First American languages, and building a national memorial. David?
Yeah, and as Americans, collectively, we all have a part to play. Thank you, Wilma. To get you caught up on tonight's other headlines now, authorities in Bend say the 12-year-old who allegedly brought a loaded gun to school had a list of people they intended to target. This happened earlier this week at Pilot Butte Middle School. Authorities say the student told a school employee they had the gun. They were taken to a juvenile detention center where they remain in custody. One of their parents has been cited for improper storage of a firearm. The Salem-Keizer School District says it plans to launch new safety measures, including metal detectors at all its high schools. The district ran a pilot last school year. It says some 50% of students and 75% of staff surveyed reported feeling safer. The changes could cost about $1.5 million. And more grim news when it comes to Portland's budget, with outgoing Mayor Ted Wheeler recommending most city services find ways to cut at least 5% from their budgets, in some cases up to 8%, though there are exemptions for police, fire, and emergency communications. City leadership will present a trial budget for community feedback by the end of February. From there, it'll be up to the new mayor and 12-member city council to refine and approve it. Okay, we are just 11 days out from the election. Tonight, we're taking a closer look at Oregon's Measure 118. That is a statewide initiative that would hike taxes on large businesses and then share that money amongst all Oregonians. Evan Watson wanted to find out why there is overwhelming opposition.
Oregon's ballot measure 118 would tax large companies and give all Oregon citizens a rebate, estimated to be about $1,600 a year, no strings attached.
$1,600 is not going to solve every problem that you have, but it's certainly going to help.
Antonio Gisbert is the petitioner backing 118. He says giant corporations aren't paying their fair share in taxes, and Oregonians could use that money to invest in their communities.
Then our economy is going to do better. Particularly our Main Street, our local economies are going to flourish.
But opponents say Measure 118 is deeply flawed, and it would devastate the state's economy.
Oregonians are smart. They know that free money is never free.
Measure 118 proposes a 3% tax on corporate sales exceeding $25 million. State estimates say the tax would raise about $7 billion a year and significantly eat into Oregon's general fund budget, forcing cuts to education, public safety, and health care, and adding to inflation.
They, as consumers, are going to have to pay for this massive tax, the largest tax increase in Oregon's history. And yeah, I think consumers understand that when you tax sales, the natural result is higher prices.
As a result, an overwhelming number of organizations, companies, and political leaders, including both Democrats and Republicans, are opposing Measure 118.
You've got businesses and chambers of commerce and labor, and you've got right-leaning think tanks and left-leaning think tanks. You've got doctors and the teachers. You've got private sector unions, public sector unions, all united, again, in opposition to something that is going to cost Oregonians a tremendous amount, damage the state's economy, and, as Governor Kotek said, punch a hole at the state's budget.
Measure 118 has become the hardest-fought ballot measure this year. Opponents and companies have spent about $12 million attacking it.
To get this coalition united to defeat Measure 118 is like nothing I've ever seen in politics in Oregon before.
And Josh Jones, a Californian who made his fortune in cryptocurrency, has given hundreds of thousands of dollars to support it as a top donor, saying he's interested in universal basic income.
I just want everybody to have a nice base level of wealth, and society functions better. It's more efficient. I've got no skin in the game. I mean, I put some money in. It's sort of an outsized bet.
Evan Watson, KGW News.